Have you ever wondered how massive, complicated projects actually get done? From building a skyscraper to launching a new app, it all comes down to one thing: turning chaos into order. And that really is the heart of management. Today, we're going to break down the universal framework that makes it all happen.
So think about it. What do great leaders actually do? I mean, beyond having a certain personality or coming up with big ideas, there's a powerful process that all successful managers use. And you'll see it everywhere, whether they're running a giant company or, honestly, just planning a family vacation. The core principles, they're exactly the same.
And here's the real secret. Management isn't some one-off task you check off a list. It's a living, breathing, continuous cycle. When you get this cycle spinning, it becomes this amazing engine for progress and improvement, constantly pushing any project or team forward.
So here it is. This is our roadmap for today, the 5 functions of management. We're going to walk through planning, then organizing, staffing, directing, and wrap up with controlling. Just think of these as the 5 essential gears a leader has to turn to make any goal a reality.
Okay, let's dive into the first one. Planning. Every great project needs a blueprint before a single thing gets built, right? Well, in management, that blueprint is your plan. This is where it all begins.
So what is planning, really? It's the part where you answer all the big questions before you start. You're defining exactly where you want to go and then mapping out, step by step, how you're going to get there. If you skip this, you're pretty much just flying blind.
And a good plan is so much more than just a to-do list. It gets the entire team on the same page, all rowing in the same direction. It also sets you up to have control later on. And maybe, most importantly, it forces you to think about what could go wrong, helping you deal with all the curveballs that are definitely gonna come your way.
Now, inside any good plan, you'll find these 2 key tools: policies and rules. It's a great distinction. Think of policies as the general guidelines. They're the why that helps us make good decisions. Rules, on the other hand, are the hard and fast what. They're the specific do's and don'ts that are absolutely non-negotiable.
All right, so you've got the blueprint. Now it's time to actually build the structure to make it all happen. And that brings us right to our second function: organizing.
Organizing is all about creating the framework, the skeleton for your project. You're grouping tasks into logical teams. You're deciding who has the authority to make decisions, and you're making it crystal clear who's responsible for what. This is where you build the scaffolding that your whole plan will rest on.
Now, there are 2 really critical ideas in organizing. First is the span of control. Basically, how many people report to a single manager. If it's too many, that manager's totally swamped. Too few, and your organization gets clunky. And second, accountability. This means everyone knows what they're responsible for and owns the outcome. Get these 2 right, and your structure just works.
When you're organizing, you face this fundamental choice. Are you going to be centralized, where all the big decisions happen at the very top? Or are you going to be decentralized and push that decision-making power down to the people who are closest to the action? There's no single right answer. It all depends on the situation.
So, the structure is built, but right now it's just an empty shell. And that brings us to function number 3, maybe the most important resource of all: the people. Let's talk about staffing.
Staffing is exactly what it sounds like, but it's more than just hiring. It's this ongoing process of finding the right people with the right skills and putting them in the right spots within the structure you just built. This is how you breathe life into your plan. And look at this. It's a really useful way to think about it. You've got your staffing pattern, which is all about the day-to-day. Who's working this shift? Then you have the staffing plan, which is the big picture. How many people do we need to hire this year? Great managers have to be masters of both the short game and the long game.
But what happens when things get crazy? A sudden spike in work can totally overwhelm your team. Well, that's when good managers get creative. They might use flexible strategies, like borrowing staff from another department, bringing in a float team, or using on-call folks to handle the extra load.
All right, we have a plan, we have a structure, and we have the people. Now it's time to hit the gas. This is part 4, the action phase: directing. Directing is really where a manager steps up and becomes a true leader. It's the hands-on work of communicating with your team, training them, giving them clear direction, and, this is the big one, motivating them to go out and crush the goals you set way back in the planning stage.
A huge part of directing is knowing how to delegate effectively, and this is like the ultimate checklist for it. Are you giving the right task, in the right circumstances, to the right person? And are you using the right communication and providing the right supervision? If you can nail these 5 rights, you're empowering your team to succeed.
Okay, so the team is in motion. Things are happening. But how do you actually know if you're on the right track? How do you know if you're winning? That is where our 5th and final function comes in, controlling.
Now, don't let the name fool you. Controlling isn't about being a micromanager. Not at all. It's simply the process of checking your performance against the goals you set in your plan. It's the feedback loop that tells you if what you're doing is actually working.
And this 4-step process is basically the engine of all improvement. First, you set a standard. Second, you measure what's actually happening. Third, you compare the two. And fourth, this is the most important part, you take action to close any gap. It's how you learn, adapt, and get better over time.
And this is the beautiful part. That corrective action you just took, it feeds directly back into the very beginning of the cycle. The insights you gain from controlling become the foundation for your next round of planning. It's a powerful, never-ending loop of improvement.
So there you have it. Planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. That's the cycle that turns ideas into reality. Now that you know the framework, here's a question to think about. Which one of these 5 is your personal superpower? And which one could you work on just a little bit to become an even better leader?